Hello everyone and welcome to Sriram's IS initiative on Unacademy UPSC Articulate channel. This is me Sanadat Bhardwaj bringing to you the next video session of the day. Now in this video session we will be discussing a very important topic. Uf garmi, hi garmi. We are going to be talking about heat waves. Let's understand the entire concept. Let's read it through and let's understand what is relevant for a UPSC aspirant. Now, through this session, what we are going to do is we are going to make sure that every single aspect of heat waves is covered with respect to your prelims, mains, and also interviews. Now, before we go on and proceed with various things, a brief knowledge and brief information with respect to all the offerings that we have for you guys on an academy platform. Now, Sriram's IS has brought to you a lot of stuff and a lot of information in the past, and many students have cracked the exam with the help of Sriram's IS even this year. So, let's make sure that we understand how you can follow any of the courses, including the foundation course, the mission 1 year with Sriram's IS for UPSC CSE 2024 is available on Unacademy at a 20% flat discount if you follow this referral code that has been mentioned here, that is SRIRAMS Srirams. Further, if you guys are looking for courses, you have a foundation course which is available. You have optional subjects including sociology, public administration, PSIR, economics, and history optional is available. I, for one, take your public administration optional subject. Further, a hearty congratulations to all our top achievers, all the rank holders, all the ones who have actually become a part of that merit list, that revered merit list. Garima Lohia, Kanika Goyal, Abhinav Sivaj, all these students, the classroom students, genuine results coming up from Sri Ram's IS, more than 175 selections in the recent result. It is an achievement. And let's hope and let's work hard so that you guys are also a part of the list. Just a brief introduction about myself, my name, my qualifications, and the years of experience that I have, the subjects that I take up. Further, let's talk about heat waves. Now, heat waves have come up. In fact, IMD has issued a warning, except for the northeastern states, most part of the country, they will be facing heat waves during the period of March, April, and May. Now, IMD in a recent finding has declared that the third week of February, and during this third week of February, maximum temperatures over the northwest, the west, the central India, they would be 3 to 5 degrees Celsius higher than the long term average of the temperatures that there used to be in these areas. In fact, Delhi, the national capital, has to be recording its third hottest February day on 21st itself, and that was around 33 degrees Celsius. It is more, in more than 5 decades, it is more than the long term average. Further, what is the impact of El Nino on heat waves? It is a very important aspect. Consider this. Now, as soon as there is a warning of heat waves, as soon as the temperatures tend to rise, the mercury tends to heaten up. The reason why I have kept this cool and composing color for this presentation is because I want to, at least through this video, bring some soothing to the increasing temperatures around us. No doubt the temperatures and the weather around us in Delhi particularly, and in certain parts of northern India, including Chandigarh, including Ambala, and certain other regions, is soothing because of the respite that has brought by the rains. But still, heat waves are considered to be becoming more intense, they are becoming longer, and they are becoming more frequent over the Indian subcontinent. If you consider the spring of 2022 in India, it was already a sign of things that were about to come. The 2022 heat wave season was unusual, and it was due to the north south pressure pattern set up by La Nina. It was because of this pressure. Now let's understand this pressure pattern and the impact of El Nino and La Nina on heat waves. But before we understand that, we need to understand what exactly is heat wave, what is the criteria for heat waves. For example, heat wave, as far as the definition goes, is an abnormally and uncomfortably hot and usually hot with humid weather. Now, as far as world meteorological, definition is concerned, a heat wave is when the daily maximum temperature for more than 5 consecutive days, for more than 5 days consecutively, it exceeds the average maximum temperature by 9 degrees Fahrenheit. Because we follow the system of degrees Celsius, let's understand the criteria that we follow in India. Heat wave is considered if the maximum temperature of a station, of any zone, of any area is at least 40 degrees Celsius or more. So it has to be at least 40 degrees Celsius and above. For plain areas and in hilly regions, it has to be 30 degrees at least. So beyond that, heat wave will come. As far as the mercurial meter is concerned, as far as the definitions that IMD gives us, this is a flow chart, this is a diagram that gives you the exact definitions of all them. Now, just to give you a detailed version of the same diagram that was available. If you have not yet taken a screenshot, then you should. I am getting back to this diagram. This is a wonderful flow chart that explains what actually is a heat wave according to IMD's definition. As far as the definition is concerned, based on the departure from the normal temperatures, based on the anomalies that are measured by IMD, heat wave, a general heat wave, just the generic term, means that you have somewhere around 4.5 degrees Celsius to 6.4 degrees Celsius departure from the normal temperatures. The normal temperature of any station can be the long-term average of that station's temperatures. There is a diurnal average and there is a long-term average. That long-term average is at the same time. A diurnal average is the average of the temperatures throughout the day, during the day and at the night. That is the diurnal average. Here we are not talking about diurnal average. We are talking about the temperatures that are recorded at the same time during the day. And if these temperatures are departing from the normal long-term averages by 4.5 degrees Celsius to 6.4 degrees Celsius, that is considered to be a heat wave. If it is beyond 6.4 degrees Celsius, then certainly it is going to be called as a severe heat wave. We'll have to be wary of that. Now, based on actual maximum temperatures of that day, of that time, your heat wave is considered anything above 45 degrees Celsius, and anything above 47 degrees Celsius is called to be severe heat wave based on the actual temperature of the day. Further, how do you define a warm night? A warm night is that night where you have maximum temperature at around 40 degrees Celsius or even more. It is going to be a really warm night, guys. Now, warm night is, if in a general sense you were to define, this is as far as the actual temperatures are concerned. Now, as far as the departure from long term average is concerned, again 4.5 degrees Celsius till 6.4 degrees Celsius. If there is any departure, then it is a warm night. Very warm night, more than 6.4 degrees Celsius departure is to be considered. Now, for describing heat wave in coastal areas and coastal stations, the criteria changes, because now you have to focus that maximum departure of 4.5 degrees Celsius or more is considered to be heat wave. Now, heat wave may in fact actually be declared on actual maximum temperatures of 37 degrees Celsius or more. This tells us that there are regional variations in temperatures based on the geographical situation of that station. Because of that, you will have to define heat waves in a different manner for different areas. In Jammu and Kashmir, in Shimla, in Sikkim, in Manali, if you have 35, 35, 37 degrees Celsius, it is actually heat wave. If you go back, if you look at the hilly areas definition, you would realize that in hilly areas 30 degrees Celsius itself would be too warm. It would be too warm, and you will be facing scorching heats, because when the elevation goes up, when you are at a higher elevation, what happens is that you receive more of sunlight, and when you receive more of sunlight, you receive more of temperatures. You get sunburns as well. If you notice, many people from plain areas, when they are visiting, on vacation, when they are visiting these hill stations, most of the times you will see their noses burnt, and you would ask them where did they go, and they would tell you that they have gone to Manali, they have gone for some skiing and some snow areas. The reflected heat starts to burn the skin, basically, and that's the skin burn that you get on the nose. Now, further, we have understood this basic criteria. Now let's understand how these heat waves are formed. When you understand this, the prelims aspect is covered. In fact, in mains as well, if you have any questions in GS1 component, you will be able to answer that. A heat wave is formed when a static pressure, high pressure, is generated in the upper atmosphere. This is the earth and this is the upper atmosphere. Now at the upper atmospheric level, if there are high pressures generated, and it generates, this high pressure generates a hot mass of air. This hot mass of air, which remains stagnant for days and even weeks over that same region, it results in the trapping of more and more heat. Because if you have, if you might have read engineering, or if you might have read physics, if you have done bachelor's in sciences for physics, for example, you would have known this. In thermodynamics, there is this concept that the heat capacity of a heated material becomes higher, because once you start, for example, any UPSC aspirant, this goes both ways, and this goes also in human life as well. For a UPSC aspirant, when they get into the grind of UPSC, they get accustomed, they get acclimatized with the kind of stress that there is in life. The stressful environment while you're preparing, for example, is really, it's a really huge stress. It's high pressure. Now, because of that, in life in general, if you face any kinds of difficulties in general, in with respect to family, with respect to finances, you will not be considering them too pressuring, too stressful, because you have already been acclimatized. The same logic applies here as well in thermodynamics, where in thermodynamics what happens is, for example, if you talk about water, you convert it into steam with heat. When you heat the steam, it can further incorporate more heat, and it can be superheated steam, and the superheated steam can reach temperatures that is beyond your imagination, and it is used in various industries as superheated steam. There used to be a lot of steam tables that we used to go through, log tables जैसे होते हैं ना, वैसे ही steam tables भी होते हैं engineering के अंदर, that we used to use when we were solving any kind of question or any kind of numerical. Now, applying same logic, applying same reasoning here, hot mass of air, it is able to trap more heat, and the reason is that now, because of increased temperatures, the molecules of the air, they start pushing each other around, and because of them pushing each other around, even if the hot mass of air expands a little, it still can incorporate a lot of heat, and that heat in turn is basically increased temperatures. Those increased temperatures further have a positive impact on the heat capacity of that air, and furthermore you can incorporate more heat, more heat, more heat. But this heat pressure, this high pressure rather, acts like a barrier, and it forces, this barrier actually forces the mass of hot air to sink to the surface of the land. rather than the notion where we think that hot air rises up. It prevents the heat which is being reflected from the surface of the land to escape. It traps it within its domain and it starts to push down because of the heavy weight rather than it being light. Hot air rises up, cold air rushes to take its place. This is a phrase that we have rote learned from our school times. It is not a wrong phrase. It is the right phrase when you have an open system. But with this system, what happens is that the entire high pressure acts like a barrier, it acts like a closed system, and it does not allow the escaped or the you know um, reflected heat from the surface of the earth to escape the earth. It is the same phenomena that happens in global warming as well. Now, this heavy mass of air starts to sink. This hot mass of air, it then accumulates not only heat but also humidity, and without any trace of precipitation, it causes abnormally high temperatures at the surface. This is that bulk of air, and you would realize this if you are a student of geography, or if you are a UPSC aspirant who has around one odd year of experience. You would be experiencing geography in real life as well, and you would realize that this hot mass of air is like a pocket of air that you are trapped in, and that it is moving like this but not as it's not flowing through, and that is why the heat waves can be dangerous and they have caused loss of life as well. Now, it is generally seen in the months of summers, of course. From May till November, the extended form can be till November as well in the northern hemisphere. Now, does it affect humans? Yes, of course it does. Human beings are affected. The temperature causes heat exhaustion. Heat exhaustion can have a negative impact on the thought process, can have negative impact on human capabilities, can have heat exhaustion can have also a impact on your skin, on your gut, on your legs. You may experience muscle cramps. Somebody may also feel that the skin is cool and clammy, which is basically dryness. And beyond that, skin, when it reaches a body temperature rises beyond 104 degree Fahrenheit, skin will start to feel hot and dry, putting you in a serious danger of a heat stroke. You should use a lot of home remedies during this time. Home remedies that include cooling sherbets or any kind of natural ingredient based drink. It will really help your gut, it will really help to cool down your body temperatures. Cool mind, cool brain gives you more efficiency. You don't have to burn things up. You don't have to fuel up your brain. For fueling up your brain, you don't have to increase the temperatures. The body itself would increase the temperatures, and you'll have to keep your brain cool and composed. Captain Cool, for example. Now, what happens is that when this hot mass of air starts to come down, it seals and it keeps out all the convection currents that could form clouds, and it would form rainy clouds further on, which would otherwise had cooled down the affected area. Instead, as a result, heat waves are produced, and these heat waves intensify every single time. The implications can be social, can be economic, can also be an ecological or environmental. We will be looking into these features. Let's understand first the social implications. Number one, it can it can cause heat related illness and even deaths. Heat waves can exacerbate the urban heat island concept as well. The urban heat island concept is like when the entire region around the urban area is warm, the hot air rushes into the urban heat island. And when the outside region is cold, the heat starts to dissipate at night to create hot breeze outside. And it acts like an island of heat. That is why urban heat islands. The basic reason for having an urban heat island is your concrete structures, just the basic reason. Now, heat related mortality, the morbidity rate is too high in cities, particularly, which are characterized by high population densities and also inequalities, where you have slum areas as well as high rise buildings, limited access to healthcare, and high pollution levels. You will have fewer greener spaces in such regions. This is the kind of social impact, and this tells us that social inequalities can also lead to deaths, and climate change per se will have a enhanced impact on the rural and urban poor. So social inequalities will amplify the impact of climate change. Further, the economic impacts, of course, is reduced productivity of workers. If you have been following my public administration course, then you would be certainly knowing what is a worker's productivity and what all factors does it relate to. Globally, it is seen that somewhere around 2% of the total working hours, it is projected to be lost every single year, either due to too hot to work situations or because the workers are working at a very slow pace. Now, there is loss of productivity, and somewhere around $4.2 trillion per year by 2030, they will be in terms of loss of productivity, driving more inequality. Now, in agriculture sector alone, somewhere around 940 million people are employed. Their livelihoods depend on agriculture, and it is set to be harder hit by hotter temperatures. We know that climate change will have more impact on agriculture and further within agriculture, because more women are employed in rural areas. Labor force participation rate of women is higher in agriculture sector in rural areas. That would be an enhanced impact on women as well. There will be tolerances which will be tested in livestock as well. Loss of labor, smaller harvests for farmers, high prices for consumers because increased irrigation and fumigation technologies would be required. It will have a negative impact on the livelihoods and also the health of the consumers as well. As far as a World Bank report is concerned, it has suggested that by 2050, around 600 million Indians, 60 crore Indians will live in places that could experience loss of living standards, which could cost around 2.8% of GDP, stalling the efforts that we are putting up against poverty. Increased energy demand will be there, and extreme heat waves are not just going to be impacting health and productivity, but in even certain cases it will also impact survival of few. We will talk about the survival impacts in a bit. Now, ecological impacts are huge. Heat waves without concomitant increases in precipitation lead to water shortages, increased stress for plants, particularly in arid regions. You can and try dry dryland agriculture. You might, you can try. Now, for example, in 2003, the European heat wave resulted in a 10% loss in glacier mass in Europe itself, which is 5 times more than the average annual loss that was happening. Similar impacts have been seen in French Alps in 2019. Such deep permafrosts, they are not now thawing. Thawing means slowly adiabatically melting, and they are releasing the land that they had held together. Also, they are releasing certain greenhouse gases, causing landslides, rock falls, and also certain other negative ecological impacts. How long can this heat wave spell last? From a minimum of 4 days, in certain occasions, 7 to 10 days. Longest recorded was in 2015, May from 18 till 31st. This is a spell. There can be multiple spells. Largely affected areas: West Bengal, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha. Similar spell was seen in 2014 and it was reported from June 2nd till June 11th. Now, this is just the reported. The impact is multitudinous. It remains so for a very long time. Does all of India can experience heat wave? No doubt, heat wave criteria covers all parts of the country, but heat waves are more common over the CHZ, the core heat wave zone. Now, IMD has defined certain areas to be CHZ, which is core heat wave zones. Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, my hometown Chandigarh, Delhi, my Karam Bhumi, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, and the parts of Gangetic plains of West Bengal, coastal Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. They have been defined as a part of core heat wave zone. Several recent studies have also indicated that CHZ experience more than 6 heat waves days per year, at least 6 days during these 4 months, which is more than other areas. Many places in the northwest and cities along the southeastern coast of India, they report 8 heat wave days per season, which is really big. However, in these regions, in the extreme north, in the northeast and southwestern areas, there are less prone areas to heat waves because of various climatic zone factors. Why is India experiencing more heat waves? Now, given that we have concrete surfaces in urban areas, given that there is a lack of tree cover, things are magnified. Number one. Number two, the urban heat island effect magnifies this, and it can make ambient temperatures feel 3 to 4 degrees more than they are. If you notice, when you open up Google, the Google weather feature, it tells you what the actual temperature is and also what it feels like. That is what they are talking about. Higher daily temperature peaks and longer duration, longer intense heat waves are becoming a frequent phenomenon, not just globally, but also in India. But there are mitigation and adaptation strategies that you can make people aware about certain practices, just like the one that I had talked about. Government agencies can play a critical role while preparing people, making sure that there is a process of rehabilitation based on loss of livelihoods, establishing an early warning system, and an interagency coordination is a must. Capacity building of professionals, particularly healthcare professionals, is a must. Beyond that, you should have training programs for these medical officers, paramedical staff, and community health staff, increasing, enhancing your efficiency to deal with heat waves. Further, public awareness and community outreach. Further, you'll have to have collaboration with NGOs and civil society to improve various structures like bus stands, building temporary shelters, using water delivery systems, improving them, and also improving the infrastructural mitigation approach, because you can do a lot of things. For example, to keep your houses cool, you can use rooftop processes. You can use certain material on your rooftop. If you use, say, a carpet, or a grass like carpet, there is a grass like carpet that is available. It really does not allow the heat to percolate into the structure, and for that purpose you would now require lesser AC temperatures, which will also save energy. Efficient building structures, greener buildings, that can be a positive process. Further, you review the existing occupational health standards with respect to all those workers who are working in heat prone areas. Policy intervention is a must. Let's talk about the policy intervention, the National Action Plan for Climate Change and Health. Various parameters, various aspects associated to adequate supply of water, timely access to drinking water can also mitigate the impact or mitigate the escalation of this problem, this climate change menace to the level of survival. Further, let's talk about all the stuff that government has taken up. These are generic points. Let's move to the government initiatives. The first initiative that the government has taken is the National Action Plan for Climate Change. Now, this National Action Plan for Climate Change has 8 national missions: solar mission, enhanced energy efficiency, sustainable habitat; water mission, sustaining Himalayan ecosystem; green India, sustainable agriculture; strategic knowledge for climate change. Every single mission here mentioned can be attributed with mitigating and adapting the society of India to make sure that this survives through heat waves. Further, there is an ICAP, India Cooling Action Plan, a long term vision where we are wanting to reduce the cooling demand that the citizens have by 20 to 25% and refrigeration demand by 25 to 30% by the year 2037. That is the agenda here. The National Disaster Management Authority has issued guidelines in 2016 to prepare communities at national level, prepare strategies to mitigate the impact of heat waves. Now, this recent study that I have brought for you guys, this is a study from one of the cities in Gujarat, that is Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad, based on the heat action plan. If you are unable to read it from here, I can provide you the link and just mention that in the comment section. The heat action plan of Ahmedabad in 2013 was able to estimated somewhere around 1190 deaths per year. One of India's largest cities avoided 1190 deaths in a year after implementing the country's first ever action plan, heat action plan. They changed the concepts, they changed the building bylaws, and the impact was huge. Make sure that you go through this as well. Now, building resilience to climate change, pilot evaluation of impact of India's first heat action plan on all cause mortality. This was the study that was jointly authored by the public health and municipal authorities in India, NRDC, and certain academic environmental health researchers of United States. Now, what they did was they changed certain ways. They reduced the death rate on hot days. They made sure that there was a drop of temperatures by 27% as well, based on the efforts that we have already studied. So, this is the topic of heat waves. I hope you have understood it. If you have, make sure to share it with your friends. Also, make sure to follow all the initiatives that Sri Ram Zayas brings for you guys. Keep calm and stay tuned to Sri Ram Dayas. This is Sanadat Bhardwaj from Sri Ram Dayas bringing you this session on Unacademy UPSC Articulate channel. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you. Take care. God bless you all. Bye bye.